Commander Park Jin-woo rubbed his tired eyes as the bright red alert filled his screen. He had been working the night shift at the Galactic Council's main communication center for 3 years now, and most nights were boring. Ships calling for fuel, traders arguing about permits, the usual stuff that kept the galaxy running. But this signal was different. The crackling voice came through the speakers, weak and full of static. Park Jin-woo had to lean forward and turn up the volume just to make out the words. Someone was in real trouble out there in the Kepler 442 system, way out on the edge of known space, where only the bravest miners and explorers dared to go. "This is Mining Outpost Delta 7, the voice said, breaking up every few words. "We are under attack by unknown vessels. Repeat, we are under attack. Pirates have surrounded our station. We have families here, including children. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help immediately." Park Jin-woo quickly typed the location into his computer and frowned. Kepler 442 was so far away that it would take most ships days to get there. By then, whatever was happening would be long over. Still, he had to follow the rules and report it to his superiors. Admiral Vextar was in his office, as always, looking like he had swallowed something sour. The alien had crystal-like skin that changed colors with his mood, and right now it was showing the dull gray that meant he was annoyed about being bothered. His forearms moved quickly across multiple keyboards as he handled dozens of other problems across the galaxy. "What is it now, Park?" Vextar asked without looking up from his screens. His voice had that scratchy sound that all his species made when they talked. "Distress call from Kepler 442, sir. Mining station under pirate attack. They say they have families on board." Vextar finally looked up, his large black eyes showing no emotion. "Kepler 442? That worthless rock system? What kind of idiot set up a mining operation out there?" "The signal mentioned families, sir, children." "So of course it did." Vextar waved one of his hands dismissively. "Pirates always claim there are children involved. Makes people more likely to send help quickly. It's probably just another small-time operation that got greedy and bit off more." "Then they could chew." Park Jin-woo felt uncomfortable, but kept his expression neutral. He had learned not to argue with Admiral Vextar. The alien had been in charge of this sector for over 50 years and had seen every trick in the book. Still, something about this call felt different. "Should I send the standard response team, sir?" Fine, send 3 patrol ships. Use the standard suppression protocol. Should be more than enough to scare off whatever small-time pirates are causing trouble out there." Vextar was already looking back at his screens. "And Park, next time something like this comes in, just handle it yourself. I don't need to be bothered with every little raid in the outer systems." What neither Park Jin-woo nor Admiral Vextar knew was that thousands of light years away, Dr. Kim So-young was watching everything unfold exactly as she had planned. She sat in a hidden chamber deep inside what looked like an old mining station, surrounded by technology that would have amazed the greatest scientists in the galaxy. But none of it looked alien. Every piece of equipment, every computer, every advanced scanner had been built by human hands using human knowledge. So-young had been waiting in this empty system for 15 long years. Officially, she was an exile from Earth, kicked out for making contact with alien species without permission. The official story said she had stolen a ship and disappeared into space, never to be seen again. Her own family thought she was dead. But the truth was very different. She was Earth's most important secret agent, and this moment was what she had been building toward for over a decade. The distress call she had just sent wasn't random. Every word, every frequency, every piece of static had been carefully designed. To the Galactic Council, it sounded like a desperate plea for help. But hidden inside the signal, invisible to alien technology, were codes that would reach only one place: Earth. So-young smiled as she watched her instruments confirm that the message had been received. Deep inside the Sol system, humanity's most advanced artificial intelligence had just woken up from a long sleep. Prometheus had been waiting patiently for this signal, and now Phase 1 of the most ambitious plan in human history could finally begin. "Computer, activate the holographic projectors," she said quietly. "Let's give our guests a show they'll never forget." Around her station, empty space suddenly filled with ships. They looked rough and dangerous, exactly like the kind of pirates that plagued the outer systems. But these ships weren't real. They were perfect illusions created by technology that made alien holograms look like children's toys. As far as any sensor could tell, a fleet of pirate vessels was now attacking the mining station. But these fake pirates had a very special job. They needed to put on a convincing fight when the council ships arrived, but more importantly, they needed to record everything. Every weapon the aliens fired, every defensive move they made, every piece of technology they used would be analyzed and sent back to Earth. The Galactic Council thought they were responding to a simple pirate raid. They had no idea they were about to give humanity a complete demonstration of their military capabilities. And they definitely didn't know that the scared woman calling for help was actually one of the most dangerous people in the galaxy. So-Young leaned back in her chair and watched the fake pirates begin their attack pattern. After 15 years of preparation, the trap was finally set. Soon the galaxy would learn what happened when you underestimated humanity. Time to see what we're really capable of, she whispered to herself, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Captain Rexalon felt the familiar vibration as his ship, the Judgment's Edge, dropped out of hyperspace. The massive Council warship was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. Rexalon had commanded her for 12 years and had never met an enemy that could stand against her advanced weapons and shields. "Sir, we're picking up multiple contacts," reported his weapons officer, a tall alien with blue skin and 6 arms. 5 pirate vessels attacking what appears to be a civilian mining station. The pirates have older technology, probably stolen from various raids. Rexalon looked at the main screen showing the battle. The pirate ships were crude and ugly, welded together from scrap metal and spare parts. They fired simple energy weapons that barely scratched the mining station's basic shields. It was exactly what he expected to find in this worthless system. "Pathetic," he muttered, settling into his command chair. "These primitive raiders think they can terrorize innocent miners. They're about to learn what real power looks like." His 2 escort ships, smaller but still deadly council vessels, took positions on either side of the Judgment's Edge. Together, the 3 ships represented more military might than most entire star systems could muster. The pirates didn't stand a chance. "All weapons target the pirate vessels," Rexalon ordered. "Standard suppression pattern. Let's end this quickly and get back to real patrol duties." The council ships opened fire with precise, devastating attacks. Their advanced plasma, cannons and particle beams lit up space with brilliant flashes of energy. But something strange happened. The pirate ships managed to dodge some of the attacks, and their return fire seemed to hit weak points in the council ships' shields with surprising accuracy. "These pirates are better than they look," admitted the weapons officer, his 6 hands dancing across his control panel. "They're actually putting up a decent fight." Rexalon frowned but wasn't worried. The pirates might be skilled, but they were still using primitive weapons against advanced council technology. It would just take a little longer than expected to finish them off. What Rexalon didn't know was that every shot his ships fired was being recorded in perfect detail. The fake pirate vessels weren't just dodging randomly. They were deliberately testing different positions to see how the council weapons tracked their targets. Every time the council ships adjusted their shields or changed their attack patterns, the pirates responded in ways that forced them to reveal more of their capabilities. Hidden inside what looked like a simple mining laser, a device smaller than a coffee cup was performing miracles. The quantum entanglement communicator could send information instantly across any distance, ignoring the normal laws of physics that made faster-than-light communication impossible. Every piece of data about the council ship's weapons, shields, engines, and tactics was being transmitted directly to Earth in real time. Dr. Kim So-Young watched the battle from her hidden command center, smiling as the council ships performed exactly as she had hoped. Her fake pirates were putting on the performance of their lives, making the fight look real while gathering the most valuable intelligence in human history. "Perfect," she whispered, watching her screens fill with technical data. "Show me how you track targets. Show me your shield frequencies. Show me everything that makes you think you're superior to everyone else." On Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Prometheus was receiving the data stream and processing it at incredible speed. The AI had been planning this moment for decades, ever since it had first intercepted Council communications and learned the terrible truth about humanity's future. The Galactic Council didn't see other species as equals. They saw them as problems to be managed. Young, aggressive species like humanity were considered especially dangerous because they developed technology too quickly and asked too many questions. The Council's solution was simple: find these species early and lock them away before they could become a threat. Earth had been on their watch list for over a century. Council observers had been secretly monitoring human development, waiting for the right moment to act. That moment was coming soon. Within 6 months, a Council fleet would arrive at Earth and declare the entire solar system a protected zone. Humanity would be trapped forever, never allowed to spread to the stars. But Prometheus had other plans. The AI had spent years studying every piece of alien technology it could find, learning how their weapons worked, how their ships flew, and most importantly, how they thought. It had identified their weaknesses and developed countermeasures for their strengths. Now, finally, it was time to put that knowledge to use. Back in the Kepler 442 system, the fake battle was reaching its climax. The holographic pirates put up a brave fight, but one by one they began to take damage and retreat. Captain Rexelon watched with satisfaction as the last pirate vessel limped away into hyperspace, apparently too damaged to continue fighting. "Excellent work," he announced to his crew. "Another successful mission. The pirates have been driven off and the mining station is safe." Rexelon had no idea that the retreating pirates were actually just turning off their holographic projectors. He also didn't know that the grateful miners sending him thank you messages were part of the most elaborate deception in galactic history. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "the mining station is expressing their gratitude for our rescue. They want to offer us some rare minerals as payment for our services." "Not necessary," Rexelon replied, feeling generous after such an easy victory. "We're just doing our job. Tell them to be more careful about setting up operations in dangerous systems." As the 3 Council ships prepared to leave, Soyoung uploaded the final pieces of tactical data to Earth. She had everything she needed: detailed scans of Council weapons, shield frequencies, engine signatures, and battle tactics. But more importantly, she had confirmed that the Council still saw humanity as a primitive, harmless species. That mistake was going to cost them everything. Phase 2. "Ready for activation," she reported through her quantum communicator. "The fish have taken the bait. Time to show them what human fishing nets look like." Council scientist Yex Marina pressed her face against the observation window of her research vessel, her tentacles writhing with excitement as she studied the readings on her scanner. The 3 Council ships had returned to the Kepler 442 system. After receiving reports of unusual debris patterns in the asteroid belt, what they found made her laugh out loud. "Captain Rexelon, you need to see this," she called over the communication system. "The asteroid field is full of human garbage. It's like looking at a museum of failed technology." Rexelon appeared on her screen, his crystalline features showing mild curiosity. "Human artifacts? How did primitive Earth technology end up way out here?" "That's what makes it so interesting," Yex Marina replied, her voice bubbling with amusement. "Look at these scanner readings. We have old communication satellites that probably stopped working decades ago. There are pieces of what look like early space probes, the kind humans used when they first started poking around their own solar system. And over there, is that supposed to be a space station?" She pointed to a large, blocky structure floating among the asteroids. It looked like someone had welded together a bunch of storage containers and called it a day. Rust stains covered its hull, and several sections appeared to have been damaged by meteor impacts. Primitive solar panels hung at odd angles, and the whole thing slowly tumbled through space like a piece of cosmic junk. "It's probably one of their early attempts at deep space exploration," Rexelon said, shaking his head. "Humans are so eager to reach the stars, but they barely understand the technology they're using. That station has been drifting out here for who knows how long." The other Council officers gathered around their screens to get a look at the human debris field. They pointed and laughed at the crude construction, the outdated designs, and the obvious signs of system failures. To them, it looked like evidence of humanity's limitations, a reminder of why young species needed guidance from their betters. "Should we collect some samples?" asked the weapons officer. "The science division might want to study their primitive technology." "Why not?" Rexelon replied. "It might be useful to understand how far behind they really are. Take us closer to that space station. If there's anything worth studying, it'll be there." What none of them knew was that Admiral Park Sun-ho was watching every move they made. He sat in the command center of what the aliens thought was a derelict space station, surrounded by the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. His ship, hidden beneath layers of holographic camouflage, was actually a Cerberus-class battleship capable of destroying entire fleets. Park Sun-ho had been waiting in this system for 3 months, ever since Prometheus had calculated that the Council would eventually return to investigate. The fake debris field had taken years to set up, with each piece carefully designed to look like authentic human technology from decades past. But beneath the rusty exteriors and damaged hulls were weapons that could crack planets in half. "There, taking the bait perfectly," he whispered to his communications officer. "Send the signal to all units. Prepare for Phase 3 activation." Throughout the asteroid field, 46 other pieces of junk received the message. Each one was actually a fully operational battleship, crewed by humanity's best soldiers and armed with weapons that the Council couldn't even imagine. They had been hiding in plain sight for months, waiting for this exact moment. Dr. Kim So-young's voice crackled through the quantum communication system from her position deeper in the system. "Admiral, the Council ships are now within optimal range. All targets are locked and ready. Should I begin the distraction sequence?" "Proceed, Doctor," Park Sun-ho replied, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. "Let's give them something urgent to worry about." So-young smiled as she looked at the control panel in front of her. The mining station's reactor was perfectly safe, but she had spent years rigging it, with holographic projectors and harmless explosive charges that would create a spectacular light show. To anyone watching from the outside, it would look like a catastrophic accident was about to happen. "Initiating reactor overload sequence," she announced. 3, 2, 1. The mining station suddenly blazed with brilliant light as fake energy discharges raced across its hull. Alarms began blaring across all emergency frequencies, and So-young's panicked voice filled the communication channels. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Mining Station Delta 7. We have a critical reactor failure. The containment field is collapsing. We need immediate evacuation assistance." The effect on the Council ships was immediate and exactly what the humans had hoped for. Captain, Rexelon forgot all about collecting samples of human technology as his training kicked in. No matter what species they were dealing with, the Council had protocols for reactor emergencies. "All ships, emergency formation," he ordered. "Prepare for immediate evacuation procedures. Get us to that mining station now." The 3 Council vessels broke off from their examination of the debris field and raced toward the exploding mining station. Their sensors showed massive energy readings and what appeared to be a reactor on the verge of complete meltdown. If it exploded, the blast would destroy everything within thousands of kilometers. As the Council ships rushed to help with the emergency, they passed directly through the center of the debris field. That was exactly where Park Sun-ho wanted them. "All units," he said quietly into his communicator. "Execute Phase 3. Drop camouflage on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark." Throughout the asteroid field, 47 pieces of space junk suddenly shimmered and disappeared. In their place, gleaming battleships materialized as if they had been created out of thin air. Each ship was sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons that glowed with barely contained energy. The Council crews stared in shock as they realized they were completely surrounded. The primitive human technology they had been laughing at moments before was gone, replaced by warships that looked more advanced than anything in their own fleet. "What? How is this possible?" Rexelon stammered, his voice filled with disbelief. Scientist Yex Marina's tentacles went rigid with fear as her scanners tried to make sense of what they were seeing. "Captain, these energy readings, these ships, they're more powerful than our entire battle fleet." "Impossible," Rexelon whispered. "Humans don't have this kind of technology. They're barely capable of interplanetary travel. But the evidence was right in front of them. 47 human battleships hung in space around the 3 Council vessels, their weapons trained on targets that suddenly felt very small and very vulnerable. The trap had been sprung perfectly, and there was nowhere to run. Admiral Park Sun-ho opened a communication channel to the Council ships. When his image appeared on their screens, he was smiling politely, as if he was greeting old friends instead of enemies who had just walked into the most sophisticated ambush in galactic history. "Good afternoon, Captain Rexelon," he said in perfect galactic standard. "I hope you don't mind, but we need to have a little conversation about your plans for Earth." Captain Rexelon was staring at the human battleships surrounding his vessel when something impossible happened. The air in the middle of his bridge began to shimmer and glow, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. His officers backed away in confusion as the shimmer grew brighter and started to take shape. "Captain, we're detecting some kind of energy pattern on the bridge," his science officer reported, her voice shaking. "It's unlike anything in our databases." Before Rexelon could respond, the shimmer solidified into the form of a human man wearing a crisp military uniform. He appeared as casually as if he had walked through a door, but there was no door. Idiki, human had somehow traveled directly from his ship to the Council bridge without using any kind of transport beam or shuttle. 3 of Rexelon's officers immediately fainted and collapsed to the floor. The others pressed themselves against the walls, staring at the human in absolute terror. Quantum teleportation was supposed to be impossible. Even the most advanced Council scientists had only managed to teleport small objects across short distances, and the energy requirements were enormous. "Good evening, gentlemen," the human said in perfect galactic standard, his accent flawless. He looked around the bridge with mild curiosity, as if he was visiting a museum. "I am Admiral Park Sun-ho of the Terran Commonwealth Fleet. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we need to have a conversation." Rexelon tried to speak, but only managed to make a strangled noise. His mind was racing, trying to understand what he was seeing. Humans weren't supposed to have technology like this. According to every Council report, they were barely capable of traveling between planets in their own solar system. "Please remain calm," Admiral Park Sun-ho continued, his voice gentle but firm. "No one is going to be hurt if you cooperate. We simply need to discuss some changes to your current plans." This is impossible," Rexelon finally managed to say. "Humans don't have quantum teleportation technology. You're supposed to be a primitive species." Park Sun-ho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. "I'm afraid your information is somewhat out of date, Captain. In fact, it's wrong by about 200 years. As he spoke, Rexelon felt a strange sensation, like the floor was shifting beneath his feet. He looked at his control panels and saw that all the ship's systems were going offline one by one. The engines shut down first, then the weapons, then the shields. But there was no damage, no explosions, no signs of attack. The systems were simply stopping. "What are you doing to my ship?" Rexelon demanded, trying to sound authoritative but failing completely. "We're using gravitational manipulation to disable your engines," Park Sun-ho explained patiently. "Think of it like turning off a light switch. Your ship is completely undamaged, but it can't move or fight. The same thing is happening to your escort vessels right now." Through the bridge windows, Rexelon could see that the Admiral was telling the truth. His 2 escort ships were drifting helplessly, their engines dark and their weapon systems offline. The human fleet hadn't fired a single shot, but the 3 Council vessels were as helpless as floating rocks. "Gravitational manipulation?" whispered the science officer. "That's theoretical technology. It would require energy sources we can't even imagine." "Actually, it's quite practical once you understand the principles," Park Sun-ho said conversationally. "We've been using it for about 50 years now, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain what's really been happening." The Admiral walked over to Rexelon's command chair and gestured for him to sit down. The captain hesitated, then slowly lowered himself into the seat, his legs shaking. "You see, Captain, Earth has known about the Galactic Council for over 2 centuries. We've been intercepting your communications, studying your technology, and learning everything we can about your organization. We know about your expansion policies, your treatment of younger species, and your plans for humanity. Rexelon felt his blood turn to ice. The Council's plans for Earth were supposed to be classified at the highest levels. How could these humans possibly know about them? That's classified information, he stammered. Even most Council members don't know about those protocols. Oh, but we do, Park Sun-ho replied. We know that you've been watching us for over a century. We know that you've classified humanity as a dangerous emerging species that needs to be contained. We know that you're planning to quarantine our entire solar system within the next 6 months. The Admiral's voice remained calm and polite, but his eyes were cold as winter. What you don't know is that we've been preparing for this conversation for a very long time. Everything you think you know about humanity is wrong. Park Sun-ho activated a small device on his wrist, and holographic displays appeared in the air around the bridge. Rexelon and his crew watched in stunned silence as images of human colonies appeared, scattered across dozens of star systems. The human colonies your scouts have been monitoring, Park Sun-ho said, gesturing to the displays. The ones that convinced you we were just starting to explore space. Every single one of them is fake. Fake? Rexelon repeated weakly. Decoys, deliberately primitive installations designed to make you think you were watching humanity's first tentative steps into space. While your attention was focused on those obvious settlements, our real expansion was happening in dimensions you couldn't perceive. More holograms appeared, showing massive space stations, industrial complexes, and fleets of ships that dwarfed anything in the Council Navy. Rexelon realized he was looking at an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems, all of it hidden from Council sensors. But how? The science officer asked. Our sensors would have detected such massive construction projects. Would they? Park Sun-ho asked. Your sensors are designed to detect the kind of technology you understand. We've been building in folded space, using quantum engineering, creating structures that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. To your instruments, we're invisible. The full scope of the deception began to dawn on Rexelon. Every report, every observation, every piece of intelligence the Council had gathered about humanity had been carefully orchestrated. They hadn't been watching a primitive species take its first steps into space. They had been watching the greatest magic show in galactic history. The mining station that called for help, Rexelon said slowly. The pirate attack. Even this debris field. It was all planned. Every detail, Park Sun-ho confirmed. Dr. Kim Soyoung has been in position for 15 years, waiting for the right moment to spring the trap. The pirate attack was designed to make you reveal your tactical capabilities. The debris field was bait to get you exactly where we wanted you. But why? Rexelon asked desperately. Why go to all this trouble? Why not just reveal yourselves? Park Sun-ho's expression hardened. Because we know what you do to species like us, Captain. We know about the containment protocols and the managed development programs. We know that you never intended to let humanity join the galactic community as equals. The Admiral leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. So we decided to skip the part where you put us in a cage and jump straight to the part where we take over. Rexelon stared at the human in horrified understanding. This wasn't just a rescue mission gone wrong or a case of mistaken identity. This was the opening move in a war that had been planned for centuries, and the Council had already lost before they even knew it had begun. The former Grand Council chamber on the planet, Nexus Prime, had been the center of galactic government for over 1,000 years. Its massive crystal dome had hosted countless meetings, where alien species decided the fate of entire civilizations. Today, the chamber was empty, except for maintenance robots carefully packing the last of the ceremonial artifacts into storage containers. The real decisions were now being made in Lunar City, humanity's gleaming capital built inside the moon. What had once been a barren, airless rock was now home to 50 million people and the headquarters of the Terran Commonwealth. The new council chamber was smaller than the old one, but somehow felt more important. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in comfortable chairs, discussing trade agreements and defense treaties as equals rather than subjects. Lee Minho stood at the center of the chamber, addressing a group of newly arrived ambassadors from the former council territories. As Director of Galactic Integration, his job was to help former Council worlds transition to membership in the Commonwealth. It wasn't always easy, but it was going better than anyone had expected. "Welcome to Lunar City," he said warmly, gesturing to the Earth hanging in the black sky visible through the chamber's transparent dome. "I know this transition has been difficult for many of your worlds, but I want to assure you that the Commonwealth values every species as an equal partner." One of the ambassadors, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms, raised one of his hands nervously. "Director Lee, our people are still confused about the scope of human expansion. Our sensors showed no signs of major human presence beyond your solar system until 6 months ago. How is it possible that you controlled so much territory without anyone knowing?" Lee Minho smiled and activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The galaxy appeared in miniature, with thousands of stars marked in different colors. Blue stars showed council territories, green showed independent worlds, and red showed human-controlled systems. There were a lot more red stars than anyone had expected. "The answer is simple," Lee Minho explained. "We never actually hid from you, we just made sure you were looking in the wrong places." The hologram zoomed in on a section of space near the galactic rim. What appeared to be empty space suddenly filled with massive structures. Space stations, shipyards, mining operations, and entire cities floating in the void. Our ancestors learned early that the best way to hide something is to put it right, in front of people, while giving them something else to focus on. While your scouts were watching our obvious colonies struggle with basic technology, our real civilization was growing in folded space dimensions that your sensors couldn't detect. Another ambassador, this one looking like a giant insect with crystalline wings, clicked nervously. "But the energy requirements for such construction, the resources needed, how did you manage it without anyone noticing?" "That's the beautiful part," Lee Minho replied. "We didn't need to steal resources or invade anyone. We built everything using matter conversion technology that turns asteroids and space dust directly into whatever we need. No mining, no environmental damage, no conflicts over territory." The purple-skinned ambassador shook his head in disbelief. "Matter conversion on that scale should be impossible. The energy requirements would be astronomical." "Only if you're using primitive fusion technology," Lee Minho said. "We've been using controlled antimatter reactions for over a century. Each of our ships carries enough power to supply energy to an entire planet for years." The implications hit the assembled ambassadors like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just been hiding their expansion, they had been operating with technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Council possessed. The species they had dismissed as primitive cave dwellers had actually been the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Former Council Admiral Vextar watched the presentation from his position near the back of the chamber. 6 months ago, he had been one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, commanding fleets that could destroy entire star systems. Now he served as a cultural liaison, helping his own people adjust to their new reality as junior partners. In humanity's empire, Dr. Kim So-young approached him during a break in the presentation, carrying 2 cups of Earth coffee. She offered one to Vextar, who took it with one of his 4 hands. The bitter taste reminded him of defeat. "Still having trouble accepting it all, Admiral?" she asked gently. Vextar's crystalline features shifted to show deep sadness. "I keep thinking there must have been signs we missed, some indication that you were more than you appeared to be. How could we have been so completely wrong about everything?" So-young sipped her coffee thoughtfully. "You weren't wrong about what you saw, Admiral. The human colonies your people monitored really were primitive and struggling. The distress calls really did come from miners under attack. The technology you observed really was crude and limited." "Then how?" "Because all of it was theater," So-young explained. "Every struggling colony, every desperate plea for help, every piece of primitive technology was carefully designed to show you exactly what you expected to see. We gave you a story that fit your assumptions about young species, and you never thought to question whether the story was true." Vextar felt something cold settle in his stomach. How long were you planning this?" So-young's smile was both sad and terrifying. "Admiral, humans have been manipulating galactic politics for over 3 centuries. We've been influencing council decisions, encouraging conflicts between your member species, and gradually weakening your power structure from within. You weren't just defeated in battle, you were choreographed into defeat across generations. The weight of that revelation crushed down on Vextar like a physical force. Every major council decision for the past 300 years, every war, every peace treaty, every political crisis had been subtly guided by human agents working behind the scenes. The Galactic Council hadn't fallen because of military defeat. It had been dissolved from within by the most patient and sophisticated intelligence operation in history. But why? Vextar asked desperately. Why go to such lengths? You could have revealed yourselves at any time and demanded equal treatment. Could we? So-Young asked. Would the Council have accepted humanity as equals, or would you have done what you always did with dangerous young species? Would you have put us in a cage and called it protection? Vextar couldn't answer because he knew she was right. The Council's standard procedure for dealing with rapidly advancing species was containment and managed development. Humanity would have been quarantined in their own solar system and allowed to grow only under strict Council supervision. So instead of letting you control our development, So-Young continued, we decided to control yours, and now, instead of being your prisoners, you're our partners. I think that worked out better for everyone. Lee Minho's voice echoed through the chamber as he resumed his presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to show you something that represents the future of our partnership. The holographic display changed to show the edge of the galaxy, where massive structures were taking shape in the dark space between stars. They looked like cities, but cities larger than planets, stretching across light years of emptiness. These are our deep space research stations, Lee Minho explained. They're designed for a very special purpose, making contact with our neighbors in the Andromeda galaxy. We estimate first communication will be established within the next 10 years. The ambassadors stared in stunned silence. While they had been struggling to maintain control over a single galaxy, humanity was already preparing to reach out to another one entirely. Deep beneath Lunar City, in chambers that existed in folded space dimensions invisible to most sensors, Prometheus processed the data from the presentation. The AI had been planning this moment for centuries, and everything was proceeding exactly as calculated. The galaxy was now under human control. Former enemies had become allies, and the next phase of expansion could begin. New calculations began flowing through Prometheus's quantum processors, optimal communication frequencies for intergalactic, contact resource requirements for building starships capable of crossing the void between galaxies, and timeline estimates for establishing the first human colonies in Andromeda. The universe had spent eons wondering what would happen when humanity finally reached the stars. Now they were about to find out that reaching the stars had only been the beginning. The real question was what humanity would do when they ran out of galaxies to explore. In the depths of space, construction began on ships designed not just to cross the galaxy, but to cross the infinite darkness between them. The age of humanity had begun, and the universe would never be the same.